Published 2:05 Eastern Standard Time, the 30th of December 2017. Updated 2:12 Eastern Standard Time, the 30th of December 2017. The devastated dad of an Army soldier who sacrificed his life to save others during the deadly Bronx apartment building fire Thursday says the selfless acts were only of his nature. Emmanuel Mensah, 28, had just completed basic training courses in Georgia prior to heading home for the holidays when New York's deadliest blaze in 25 years took the lives of 12 people, including Kwabena Mensah's son. They were telling me he was rescuing people out from the fire. That's what caused his death. He doesn't live in apartment 1. He lives in room 15, the teary-eyed Kwabena, 62, seemingly said while speaking with PIX11. That's his nature. That's how he is, his father added. According to Emmanuel's Facebook page, the family moved to the Bronx from Cape Coast, Ghana at some point within the past decade. His profile biography says he attended DeWitt Clinton High School before enrolling in the Borough of Manhattan Community College, CUNY. Emmanuel Mensah, 28, shown above in undated photos, just completed basic training courses in Georgia before he headed home for the holidays days before New York's deadliest blaze in 25 years took the lives of 12 people. The soldier's heartbroken father, Kwabena Mensah, 62, shown being interviewed, explained that Emmanuel's sacrifice was only in his nature, but the late Emmanuel's ultimate passion was to serve in the Army. His father explained to the New York Post, when he came here 5 or 6 years ago, he just said, "Dad, I want to join the Army." Kwabena remembered of the conversation. "At first I didn't agree with him, but I decided that's his choice," he said. On Thursday, Emmanuel helped his roommate's wife and children as they were trying to come out to the stairs, and he stopped them. He told them to come out the window, then he went in and tried to rescue people out, he told the Post. When his father heard of the nightmare incident, he said he hoped his son was one of the lucky ones, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Emmanuel's body was found on one of the top floors, where he was assisting the other residents. Meanwhile, a terrified grandmother frantically called her daughter saying she was going to die as she cradled her 8-month-old granddaughter and tried to hide from the flames while lying in a bathtub. Maria Batiz, 56, was another killed in the blaze, which was started by a 3-year-old boy playing with a stove in his apartment. Scroll down for video. Tragic. Officials say the youngest victim in the fire that destroyed the apartment building near the Bronx Zoo is 8-month-old Amora Serenity Vidal Center, who died in a bathtub while being held by her 56-year-old grandmother, Maria Batiz, who also perished in the blaze. The child's mother, Christine Wright, is distraught by the tragedy. Heartbreaking. A 3-year-old boy playing with the gas burner on the stove inside of a first-floor apartment started the deadly Bronx building fire that killed 12 people, left more than 15 injured Thursday night. A relative at the scene identified 2- and 7-year-old sisters, Kylie Leff and Kalesha Wright Francis, as victims of the fire. The girl's mother, 37-year-old Karen Francis Leff, also died in the historic blaze on Thursday night. Shante Young Wright, aged 19, has also been identified as a victim in the fire. Fire Commissioner Daniel Nigro said during a press conference on Friday morning that the young boy had a history of playing with the burners and turning them. Nigro said the boy's mother was not in the same room as him when the fire started but was alerted to it by his screams. She quickly grabbed him and a 2-year-old child before running out of the first-floor apartment. Batiz, who lived on the 3rd floor in a studio, called her 26-year-old daughter Christine as the flames rapidly engulfed the building from the 1st floor and said, "We're going to die in here." The New York Daily News reported, Batiz's brother, Fernando, recalled his last conversation between Christine and his frantic sister, who was caring for 8-month-old Amora Serenity Vidal. "My niece was telling her, 'Get out. What are you doing?'" Fernando Batiz told the Daily News. "I guess Maria was hysterical, and she got trapped. She was scared. She said, 'We're going to die in here.' She was frantic. I guess the smoke overcame her." 2-year-old Kylie Francis, 7-year-old Kalesha Francis, 37-year-old Karen Francis and 19-year-old Shante Young are also among the 12 victims who died in the fire that was started accidentally by the little boy, who had a history of playing with stovetops. The boy's mother was not in the same room as him when the fire started but was alerted to it by his screams, and she quickly grabbed him and another 2-year-old child. Commissioner of the New York City Fire Department Daniel Nigro said, while fleeing, she left the door open to the first-floor apartment, which caused the fire to then immediately spread up the stairs to the 5th floor in the building. Nigro said, "The stairway acted like a chimney." Nigro, above on Friday, said that she left the door open, which caused the fire to quickly spread up the open stairs like a chimney to the fifth floor in the building. Of the 12 who perished, Nigro said 7 women and 5 men are among the dead from the horrific blaze. He also said that, in those numbers, 5 of the victims are children. The 5-alarm fire broke out a little before 7 p.m. on the first floor of a brick building at East 185th Street and Prospect Avenue. Above, people react near the scene of the blaze. It took the fire so quickly upstairs that people had very little time to react. They couldn't get back down the stairs. Of those that tried, a few perished. Others were helped out onto the fire escapes, taken down by our members, he added. Of the 12 who perished, Nigro said 7 women and 5 men are among the dead. He also said that, in those numbers, 5 of the victims are children. This tragedy is, without question, historic in its magnitude, Nigro said. Our hearts go out to every family who lost a loved one here and everyone fighting for their lives. Officials have not released the names of the victims who died in the historic blaze, but victims whose relatives are coming forward. If unfortunately you do have a fire in your apartment, you must close the door when you exit. Daniel Nigro, commissioner of the New York City Fire Department, Christine, has created a GoFundMe to raise money for the funeral costs for her mother and her baby girl. Another distraught relative, Elaine Williams, identified 4 of her family members who all tragically perished in the blaze. She told the Post that her 2 nieces, Kylie Francis, aged 2, and Kalesha Francis, aged 7, died, along with their 37-year-old mother, Karen Francis, who is her sister. She said she also lost her 19-year-old daughter Shantae Young. Williams said that she lived in a basement apartment at 2363 Prospect Avenue. She was heading home from work when she got a phone call saying the building was on fire and she rushed to the scene. I was calling my daughter to see where she is. Accidentally, I was upstairs at her aunt's. She got caught in the fire too, Williams told the Post. She explained that when she went to Jacobi Medical Center, she found out the 4 family members were all dead. I feel so empty, so lost, she said. Standing right here, my soul is gone. 4 victims, 1 family. Come on now, I don't wish that on my worst enemy. Williams said that her brother-in-law, Francis Holt, is recovering in a hospital from his injuries. Police and fire officials revealed on Friday, an unidentified boy died in the blaze along with 2 other women aged 19 and 63. 5-alarm Bronx blaze that killed 12 and injured 15 started just before 7 p.m. on Thursday night. Boy, aged 3, was playing with gas stove and ignited fire on first floor. His mom fled apartment with him leaving the door open, which caused blaze to rapidly spread up to the 5th floor like a chimney. It took an estimated 170 firefighters working in just 15 degrees to rescue people from the building. Howard Alkofsty. Investigators said a natural gas line may have helped to fuel the flames of the blaze that is the city's deadliest in at least a quarter of a century. Nigro said that everyone has been accounted for and stressed the importance of closing doors to help contain fires. If unfortunately you do have a fire in your apartment, you must close the door when you exit, Nigro said. FDNY officials across the city have set up stands to share fire safety information and their Juvenile Fire Setters Intervention Program. Officials say the youngest victim in the fire that destroyed the apartment building near the Bronx Zoo is a 1-year-old girl who died in a bathtub being held by her mother, who also perished in the blaze. Nigro said that everyone has been accounted for and stressed the importance of closing doors to help contain fires. According to the New York City Housing Preservation and Development, their building owned by D. Pictured above, officials inspect the burned-out building. Howard Alkofsty said, "We are shocked and saddened at the loss of life and injuries which occurred. Our prayers and thoughts are with the families that were affected." According to the New York City Housing Preservation and Development, the building owned by D. Missing, Emmanuel Mensah, 28 U.S. Army soldier Emmanuel Mensah, 28, is missing in the wake of the Bronx fire and his family fear for his safety. The serviceman, who lived in the building, was home on leave for the holidays and was last seen by his roommate. He was telling the roommate to not come out of the apartment because there was smoke, his father told the New York Daily News. But when they rescued everyone from the windows, we couldn't find him. I went to 4 hospitals, I can't find him. 2 violations reported in August 2017 were for a broken smoke detector and for a defective carbon monoxide detector in the same apartment on the first floor. It was not clear if the detector had been fixed or replaced or whether it had played any role in the fire, Howard Alkofsty. The residential apartment building did not have an elevator and fire escapes were visible on the facade of the building. "We are shocked and saddened at the loss of life and injuries which occurred," Ron Tarosian, a spokesperson for the landlord, said. "Our prayers and thoughts are with the families that were affected." The landlord is communicating with the City of New York associated agencies. It took an estimated 170 firefighters working in just 15 degrees to rescue people from the building as water sprayed from hoses frozen to ice on the street. De Blasio confirmed that 4 of the 15 injured are are in critical condition and fighting for their lives at a local hospital. This is the worst fire tragedy we have seen in this city in at least a quarter century, de Blasio said, adding that the fire will rank as one of the worst losses of life to a fire in many years for the city. The mayor said at least 12 people were rescued and will survive thanks to the FDNY's quick response to the scene, but the search of the building continues, the mayor said, adding that we may lose others as well in this unspeakable tragedy. Photographs and video of the building located at 2363 Prospect Avenue in the Belmont section showed the fire that occurred just 1 block from the Bronx Zoo. The blaze appeared to be under control by the time the mayor spoke at 10 p.m. About 170 firefighters worked in bone-chilling cold, just 15 degrees, to rescue people from the building. Water sprayed from hoses froze into ice on the street. Emergency workers wheel away a body from the site of an apartment fire where at least a dozen people died. Mayor Bill de Blasio confirmed during a press conference that 4 of the 15 injured are in critical condition and fighting for their lives at a local hospital. "I want to offer my prayers to all of the families who have lost their loved ones this evening," de Blasio said. "I ask all New Yorkers to keep them in your prayers." Nigro said that fire crews received the fire alarm at 6:51 p.m. and the department responded within 3 minutes. "In a department that is certainly no stranger to tragedy, we are shocked by this loss," Nigro said. "People died on various floors of the apartment building," Nigro said, adding that their ages range from 1-year-old to over 60. Nigro called the fire historic in its magnitude because of the number of lives lost. City Department of Buildings records show the building is a walk-up apartment house. City officials advised people in the area to close their windows to keep out the smoke, saved some of the dozens of people evacuated during the fire shelter from the freezing cold under Red Cross blankets. Police also say an unidentified boy died in the blaze along with 2 other women aged 19 and 63. FDNY photos show ladders stretched to the roof of the 5-story building that's near the Bronx Zoo. "This is the worst fire tragedy we have seen in this city in at least a quarter of a century," de Blasio said, adding that the fire will rank as one of the worst losses of life to a fire in many years for the city. City Department of Buildings records show the building is a walk-up apartment house. According to city records, the building had no elevator. Fire escapes were visible on the facade of the building. Fire Commissioner Daniel A. Nigro said that crews received the fire alarm at 6:51 p.m. and the department responded within 3 minutes. "In a department that is certainly no stranger to tragedy, we are shocked by this loss," Nigro said. Nigro confirmed that the fire started on the 1st floor and quickly spread to the 5th floor of the building. Witness, Zanril Collins, told the New York Post that heard a father screaming for his children at the scene. "A father ran into the building. He couldn't get in," said Collins. "I saw him screaming, 'My babies are dead. My babies are dead.'" Video of the scene showed numerous firefighters wheeling victims out on stretchers. An EMT was seen administering chest compressions to one victim as 2 other firefighters wheeled them to a rescue unit nearby. Luz Hernandez, a resident of the building, told the New York Times that she realized something was wrong when the smell of burned rubber filled her apartment on the 4th floor. She said the smell was followed by smoke so thick that it made the room pitch black. Nigro called the fire historic in its magnitude because of the number of lives lost. Firefighters are seen working the scene of the tragic fire. Members of the FDNY work at the scene of a 5-alarm fire at an apartment building where at least 12 people were tragically killed. She was able to get to her husband and 2 sons, 11 and 16, to the window, and they climbed down the front fire escape. Hernandez said once she and her family were safe, she saw the charred bodies of 2 women who lived together and their 2 young daughters being carried away on stretchers. Thierno Diallo, 59, a security guard originally from Conakry, Guinea, said he was asleep in his ground-floor apartment when he heard banging on the door. Diallo said it took him a moment to realize what was happening. He said he heard people screaming, "There's a fire in the building." He then ran out in his bathrobe, jacket and sandals. Video of the scene showed firefighters wheeling out victims of the horrific fire on stretchers. Pictured, an EMT was seen performing chest compressions on one victim as firefighters pushed the stretcher. Firefighters were seen prepping victims of the horrific fire for transport to local hospitals. Neighborhood resident Robert Gonzalez, who has a friend who lives in the building, said the woman was able to get out on a fire escape. "When I got here, she was crying," Gonzalez said. One witness, Rafael Gonzalez, who lives across the street from the building, told WCBS-TV that he saw some youths on a fire escape of the burning building as the fire raged. "What woke me up was the smoke, because I thought it was my building," he said. A tenant in an adjoining building, Anna Santiago, told The Times that she fled when she smelled the smoke and saw young girls who had escaped the burning building on the fire escape standing barefoot outside with no coats on. Firefighters were able to rescue several people by climbing up ladders to reach them and bringing them back down to safety. Firefighters continued to search the apartment building late Thursday night and early Friday morning for more victims. Evacuees wear American Red Cross blankets as they stand outside after a fire at the apartment building in the Bronx on Thursday night. The American Red Cross will also provide housing for displaced families from the devastating Bronx fire. Anyone who needs to check on loved ones or relatives who may have been in the building are asked to call 311. City officials said nearby Crotona International High School will be opened as a reception center for those displaced families who may need housing. The American Red Cross will also provide housing for displaced families. The 12 confirmed fatalities made the fire the deadliest since the inferno at the Happy Land Social Club in 1990 that killed 87 people. It also surpassed one of the deadliest fires in recent city memory that happened elsewhere in the Bronx in 2007. 9 children and 1 adult died in that blaze that was sparked by a space heater. Anyone who needs to check on loved ones or relatives who may have been in the building are asked to call 311. One of the most horrific and deadliest fires also happened in the Bronx in 1990 at the Happy Land Social Club. 87 people died in that fire.